Welcome back to the Raising Our Vibration podcast, where we explore higher consciousness through spiritual practice. And today, Stephen and I are going to discuss how to turn on task positive attention to calm rumination. So, this relates to a personal story I have from today and also to an article I was reading about the task positive neural network and the default mode neural network. So, just a brief and simplified summary for those of you not familiar with neural networks. So, a neural network is a grouping of different parts of your brain that work together in correlation with specific states of consciousness. So, for example, the default mode network has become known for what happens in our brain when our mind is wandering or we're considering the past or planning the future, or we're ruminating on something that's really just we're kind of hooked on ruminating on a negative emotion or um, event in our life, and it just kind of has a hold of us and just carries us along, um, kind of without our conscious choice, right? So it's a mind wandering um, correlation and often has to do with rumination. Task positive network has to do when you're engaged in a consciously chosen attentional project. So it could be an external task, or in meditation, when we consciously direct attention to present moment sensations in the body. And these two networks, the task positive network and the default mode network, work in tandem, and they tend to be inversely related. So when the default mode network is really lit up and functioning, the task positive network tends to be um, not lit up and not very active. And then when you bring the task positive network online by consciously engaging your attention and really focusing and being present on either an external task or inner sensory awareness, then task positive lights up and default mode network tends to quiet down. So, why is this important? I'll give you a personal example from my week this week and actually my morning this morning. So, this week, both my 22-year-old son and I were receiving news from medical reports. And I, in particular, had one concerning test result from an MRI scan that I had. Um, and then, and so I was dealing with that and what to do about that and who to see about that and so on. And then my son, well, he was born way prematurely at, um, let's see, at 22 weeks. So he was like 4 months before he was supposed to be here, plus. And anyways, because of that, he had a bunch of surgeries when he was in the neonatal intensive care units, laser eye surgery, heart surgery, renal surgery, on and on. But he's made it. He's 22 years old now, and he's doing well. But he does have a lot of different health issues that he deals with. A lot of stuff with his eyes. And a lot of procedures with his eyes, medication for his eyes, some blood clotting, which he has to be on anti-clotting medication. And then he had this fungal infection for the last year, and this week he needs to be on a medication for that. So I was reading the potential side effects for this medication, and maybe not a good idea to do, but it's always a good idea to do. But potential side effects just were alarming, like avoid being in the sun because you'll just get seared by the sun, and potential liver failure, and da da da, da like blah, 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 blah. And so I was like, oh, should he be on this? I mean, on top of the other medications he's on, and he's going back to college senior year, and this is a lot to put on him. So anyway, I woke up this morning and my default mode network was uh, on fire. It was ruminating big time about all these medical issues, and it was just kind of cycling around this all these side effects that I had read about, and is he going to be okay with this medication, and he's really tired of medications anyway, and he's tired of having to deal with all of this, and as a parent you just want to take it all away for them or make it better or whatever. So my mind is ruminating on this. And so what I've learned to do is something Stephen and I teach all the time in our classes, is to first tune into that, to be aware of that, and to be aware of the thoughts and the emotions, and not to push them away, also not to just be them, but to be aware of them. And so tuned into the fears, tuned into the ruminating, cycling thoughts, and so just aware of them. And then, as we like to guide people to do, I tuned into where that was located in my body. And it was located right down in my stomach, in my gut. My gut was tight. I could feel it. It's kind of churning in there. So I tuned into that sensation in my body. So that's where I started to, I would say, engage the task positive network in terms of present sensory awareness. I tuned into underneath the emotional content and the thought content into the sensation in my body. And just, okay, what does that feel like? Where is it? And then I started to breathe into that, just taking nice, slow, deep breaths through that area. And as I did that, and I did that for a bit, for a while, because this is what had woken me up pretty early. I didn't need to get up. So I just spent a lot of time just breathing into that sensation. And as I breathed into the sensation and just engaged in that present moment attention to the sensations, I noticed the thoughts just kind of began to recede to the background. The emotional intensity receded to the background. That rumination really calmed down. And then I noticed as I went deeper into the breath and just was being breathed and really completely absorbed in that, then not only was my mind quiet, my emotions calm, but my body was relaxing. And then I found that this more open and spacious awareness was very present. And as that happened, then I just noticed that I could relate to what was happening just from a much more conscious, intentional, uh, proactive, positive um, place, and found a much better relationship with what was happening and what we needed to do, and just being okay. Here's what we need to do, and we'll do that. And I don't need to think about it more right now. I can move on with the activities of my day. So with that as an intro, Stephen, I know you've had some client interactions that have to do with this, with rumination, and also with your guiding them to activate this task positive network through present moment sensory attention and experience.
Kevin, thank you. And love and blessings to everybody here, especially if you're having one of those days where it might be a bit of a challenge. And just exactly like Kevin and myself, we all have challenges in our day. I think my week, Kevin, has been connected with my helping my wife and daughter to meet each other on certain levels where they're disagreeing. My daughter, who's growing older, is starting to really express the things that she wants to do and the things she doesn't. And that can get us into some, as a family, can get us into some pretty intense and heated discussions about what go. I tend to be the let's say I'm the middle person on the scales because I tend to hold that gentle space of peace while my daughter and my wife have a little, let's say, a little tussle. So, and I'm aware, just because we're speaking to rumination versus task positive, that I'm aware most of it is around ruminating, around what if, or they're often things that have passed that we're finding still are challenging us, or things that haven't yet happened that are still challenging us. And for my wife and daughter, it was exactly that this week. And it's lasted most of the week, well, at least for 3 or 4 days. And it's all to do with a regular event that we go to and what's happened in the past and what's likely to happen in the future. And neither of them is comfortable about it. My daughter doesn't enjoy going, and my wife would like her to go. And those points of view for parents, if you're listening, I'm sure, are very familiar. That there are things that we think when our children are younger, or even when they're older, that we'd like them to do, and that our children don't necessarily want to do. So there's a lovely case just to begin of how often rumination takes precedence over tasks positive, because that is actually what most of the week has been about, is about ruminating. And as you mentioned, Kevin, I have a lot of clients, and the and the clients come from all different sources. So I'll explain some of my personal ones that come to me. The majority of these wonderful souls are ruminating over some aspect of their life constantly. This might be a relationship they can't find, a life purpose. So I'll put it in your, as you're listening or watching, I'll put it for you, right? It could be a relationship that you can't find, or a life purpose that you're not sure of. You've got an inkling of, but it kind of keeps you awake at night, wishing you actually knew what you were here for. Or it could be a health challenge that you've had and that just keeps coming up and it keeps recurring and it doesn't go away. Or it could be some aspect of money or abundance and finances that you just can't seem to get under control. You can never quite pay that credit card bill off. So those are really typical ones that I have a lot of people coming to me for advice on. Now, the very first part that I always deal with, just as you said, Kevin, is that when sticky challenges come along, just like my wife and daughter are facing this week, it tends to come up and it keeps coming up. It's like a regurgitated piece of food or a morsel of food that you haven't quite been able to swallow, and it's still there, and you don't know whether to spit it out or to swallow it, but it's still there, and you're not quite sure what to do with it. And in this case, the advice I always give the clients first is exactly what Kevin was speaking about. Be aware of exactly what that rumination is first, because we tend to have it and get really annoyed by it because it comes up and it frustrates us. So instead of going to task positive, we actually go to task negative. We go, oh my God, not that terrible, frustrating thought about my credit card again, or about, how come I can't find a decent partner? It's like it goes around and around and around, and it finds you're keeping you up late at night, or it just comes in your daily tasks, and it's again and again, 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 again. So the first thing I do, which often is contrary to what most people might think, is just as Kevin was explaining, I ask people to become aware of those ruminations, really, really aware. A little bit like, I always use the metaphor of a mum or a dad who looks after their child, right? So the ruminations are actually like your children. They're all part of you. They tend to want some expression. So in the case of struggling with your life purpose, they want something that they would love to express. There's a way that it wants expression, but you're just not sure how. So the very first thing that you do, and I'll do this with you in a minute, is that you actually allow the ruminations to be present. And as contrary as that sounds, it is in fact mostly contrary to what everybody is doing, because most people are bringing the ruminations up to begin with. So right at the beginning, if you think back to the root of when this happened, you'll find there's usually an element of shock or surprise. You get the credit card bill, you get the health report, you get the you suddenly see that there's no people on your landscape to partner up with, or your life purpose often has taken a change with some root point where maybe you lost a job and you thought that was your purpose, but now you don't know. So there's usually a root. And when you go back to that root, you'll often find you kind of weren't prepared for it. It just came. And if I use my beautiful wife and daughter's case, they weren't prepared for either of their reactions to this particular event that they want to go to, they don't want to go to, they want to go to. And both their reactions are very strong. So in the case of any of your reactions, we often turn ruminations into task negative, because it's hit us suddenly. We're not sure what to do about it. And as a result, it kind of lodges itself in your body and your nervous system, somewhere in your body. Might hit you in your heart. That's quite often. When things touch me, they really hit me in my heart. I get a very strong heart response. So it could be a chest response. So as you're listening to me, just consider, before we do this brief exercise, where when you first heard about the relationship trouble, so you might have been through a breakup, right? And where did that hit you? Because you're actually looking at the root of where all these ruminations are coming out. It could be a health matter, or it could be a financial. You suddenly get your credit card bill and you think, oh my God, how come it's so high? How am I ever going to pay that debt off? So you want to go to that root and notice where you feel that in your body. So I always encourage people to do that first, because the ruminations all arise from that source, whether you're aware of it or not. The tensions are often there, right there in your body, and they're sitting there, but we're thinking about them in the head. So the first is to be aware of the ruminations, and then, without pushing them away or without holding on to them, you bring just a little bit of space for them, just a little bit. And once you're aware of those ruminations and where they arise, then, just exactly as Kevin says, then I always do exactly what Kevin did. Once I'm aware of the ruminations, I'm aware of the source of the tension or the emotion, then I bring the breath to it. And here the key is to really bring the breath and stay with it, because what you're starting to do when you do that is you're directing your mind, your brain, your task positive neurons to just stay with one thing, the breath. And you can add simple words like calm on the inhalation and peace on a long exhalation. That's generally the way I guide people to do this. And of course, once you stay with that for a little while, because one, you're usually not aware of the ruminations with a sense of kindness. Two, you're not even aware where they've arisen from as a root. And three, you've never stayed with that ruminating body connection for long enough to actually notice the tension that is there in the way that it might be unfolding for you. So yeah, I'll guide you into this really short practice. It's so simple. And you can do this anytime. You can even do it on the run. You can do it in the bus. You can do it if you're on public transport or a train. If you're at home or you're going for a walk, you can do it anytime when you notice the ruminations coming up when you're walking, or if you're lying in bed at late at night. Lots of clients ask me, "Oh, I've got this problem. I've got this thing I'm really stuck on in my business or my job. What should I do if I lie awake in bed at night and I don't know what to do with it?" I said, "Well, just try this simple practice." Okay, so here you go. So to begin with, I just want you to, whatever you're ruminating about, and this is to the wisdom that Kevin spoke to, I want you to actually consciously bring that rumination back here. So I'll do it with my wife and daughter's situation, because obviously it affected me too. I was in the middle of a situation which I was balancing for them, for all of us. I always see all family problems as our problem. They're never theirs or mine. They're just ours. So I always treat everything that happens to people like that. If I'm with a client, it's our problem, right? It's our issue. So here, just be aware as you're starting to tune into this, that there's not just you working on this problem, there's me and Kevin as well. And everybody else around you when they start to recognize it. Right? So be aware of the root source of the problem. So right now I'm becoming aware of what we were all as a family ruminating about. And it's a particular event. It happened out in the country. And it was just a moment where one person lost a lot of confidence and the other person didn't realize it and was kind of pushing and it created quite a lot of conflict at that very root. So it was actually a little accident happened. And even though this can quite often happen in sports, right? A little accident happens, your child gets injured, you encourage them to get back up and go on. And so there might be just little slight abrasion, something, and some children might take it quite heavily, and some people might be okay. But here you just feel, in this case, you're feeling into that root of the problem whenever it arose, and just noticing how it arose and noticing any thoughts, any feelings, any past, any future thoughts about it. So in our case, it was like, what if this goes on forever? Are we going to have this tension in the family? So it could be something like this. It could be, oh, what if the tension? So I want you to actually bring that consciously, that ruminating. Just be okay with it, right? There's no judgment or opinion here. You're just noticing it, maybe for the first time in its fullness. And if you haven't closed your eyes, you can close your eyes as you're listening to me. And if you want to do this open eyes, you can. So all you're doing is you're just noticing in a simple way what's present. So you're actually encouraging the ruminations to arise. You say, come on, ruminations, be here. Be here now. Here's your chance. You've been plaguing me for the last 3 weeks or months or days. I want you to be present. Wonderful. Okay. Now that you've got a little inkling of the root of those ruminations, like when it first arose or somewhere approximating that, I just want you to notice as that those ruminations arise, where does that arise in your body? Now, to help you do this, because this is sometimes not that easy, to help you do that, I want you to actually feel down into your feet. Let your attention be drawn down into your body's natural groundedness. Just where your feet meet the earth, so that you're just aware of the sensations in your feet. And then slowly start to move up your body and notice where the most tension is held in your body. So here you're not going for emotions, because sometimes at this point, when you've got ruminations, it's difficult to identify the emotion behind it. But very simply, now that you've brought the ruminations up, notice where the root of those ruminations are held in your body, just where the tension is. That's the easiest way to do it. So I'm scanning up my body. And for me, it's easy. I mentioned at the beginning, it's in my heart, it's in my chest. Whenever I think of family arguments, it brings such a lot of deep feeling, because I just adore my wife and daughter and I want to support them as best I can. And when they struggle, I feel it in my heart. As I said, it's our problem. So I feel that same tension or energy. So right now I can feel it in my heart when I tune into the root of that moment. And I remember what happened to my daughter, and she had an accident. And I remember there was that normal sporting family thing. Come on, you can do it. She didn't want to do it. So there's that feeling. There's this real feeling of the root and where it arises just in your body. Okay, and now as you keep scanning through for any tension, so go for, even if you're finding, oh, I can't really find where that tension is, then you could look at really simple things, like if it was tension around something that somebody said, then the tension might be in the body, in your throat. And if it's something that is much more relationship related, could be in your heart. This is just if you're not sure where to go, the tension could be in your heart. If it's like a real root issue, like a health or a financial one, it might be in your gut. You might have had that gut wrenching, oh my God, what? This? Or if you're facing, decisions about life purpose or otherwise, your job or business, might be in your head. Okay, so just notice where you hold tension, where that root rumination is holding tension in your body. And now I want you to invite a breath of calm on the inhalation. So you're going to breathe in. So I'm breathing into my heart. Just pause for a few moments, feel that calm begin to saturate your body, and then a long exhalation and affirm peace on the exhalation. So as you exhale, just feel like you're releasing into peace. Long exhalation. Now you don't have to release all the tension at all, just encouraging a shift. Again, inhale. Use the word calm if it helps. So I say calm on the inhalation. Pause for just a moment so I can feel the calm in my heart, just long enough to feel that sense of calm in that body part, just in that part whether you're holding tension. And then the long exhalation of peace. You can even sigh. Sighing is quite helpful. Kind of lets it out of your body. Peace. You might find everything starting to slow down. You keep going. You bring this as often as you need to. Just this. It's that simple. Inhale. What's the word? Calm. And as you pause at the end, you're just noticing the feeling in that body part. That's all. And then you release on the long, long exhale. Inhaling. Pausing for just a moment. Exhaling, that long exhalation with peace, releasing into peace. almost as if you're giving all that tension back. It's releasing it, opening it. Yeah. Just as many times as you need to. Again, inhale. Calm. Holding it just gently on the inhale, just long enough so you're aware of that calmness saturating your cells. So I can feel it coming into my arms now. And then exhaling. Long release. Keep going. Inhaling. Calm. You're activating all those positive neurons by inviting this present moment power. Holding it. And then exhaling that long release. So this positive task attention being activated just by this, just by calm and peace. And you can probably feel this already. I can feel all my whole body is starting to participate. You might feel that that calm breath is starting to fill your throat or belly or wherever else you've been guiding it into. The areas above and below it are starting to participate. Holding it, releasing it. Breathing. And that long exhale. One more time. One last. Breathe in, calm. Pause and feel that calm saturate your body from head to toe. That long exhalation. Now, as you continue just to breathe in this way, now you can let your attention go off the breath and just slowly open your eyes with a sense of gratitude and appreciation. Raise your gaze ever so slightly. It's a beautiful uplifting effect when you do that. And just widen your field of vision and keep your gaze very soft. And just rest in that open spaciousness as your mind naturally expands outward infinitely and effortlessly. As you feel into that calm peace that's melting into the space. So stop trying to do anything at all for a moment. Just allow any separation between yourself and the world just dissolve completely. Just dwell in the great oneness of calm, peace, that's beyond all thought and beyond all words, beyond all ruminations, beyond all divisions, beyond all concept. Let's rest in that for a moment. We're going to gently pass back to heaven and to share anything further from that wonderful combined practice, because as Kevin and I always say, this is actually your wisdom. When you feel calm, you're the calmness. We're just simply giving you some beautiful words to help that task positive network to begin to interact and activate. So Kevin, here.
Thank you, Stephen, for that beautiful guidance. And thank you all for participating with us. And just as you did that, just acknowledge yourself for engaging, no matter what the result was. And this is something that you cultivate through practice. So if it was something that didn't come easily to you, that's okay. This task positive network is something that you cultivate over time just by bringing yourself into being aware of what's happening within your inner space and bringing attentional focus onto inner sensations, onto sensations of breathing, and just allowing your natural interoception to somatic awareness to arise. So, we're very, as we talk about a lot on here, our culture is very conceptual mind oriented, and that ties right into the default mode network. And so, cultivating this present moment, direct sensate awareness is something that does take some cultivation, some time, a little attention to it every day. So even if you're just giving yourself a minute or two, first thing in the morning, just being aware of how you're waking up, what's present in your consciousness, just going into it, feeling it, being aware of it, breathing through it, connecting with that deeper calm peace that is always underneath every experience, the essence of this spacious awareness that we are. Just give that a couple minutes every day, and you'll notice over time what a difference it makes into the processing of your thoughts and feelings and how you relate to everything that arises in your life. So thanks again, Stephen, for this discussion and practice. And thank you all for participating. And if you'd like more information on meditation and awareness practices like this, including the ROV meditation app, the Raising Our Vibration book, and our online courses and practice communities, you can visit us at raisingourvibration.net. And we'd love to hear from you there. So until next time, bye for now. Love and blessings.